Thank you, Ty. Stop me rod from going in. Imagine a shoulder then. Oh, that's excellent. Well, good morning and welcome to France. I suppose I should say bonjour, or is it bonsoir? Not entirely sure, but we'll know that by the end of the trip. I've been out to France many times before, for obvious reasons, the carp. And every time I've been out here, I've wondered whether we could find a place that offers good all-round / specimen fishing. And this public lake that we've found, that we've got 48 hours on. I'm not sure whether we're going to fish the nights or not yet, but we're certainly going to have 2 days here. Very short window trip to France, to be fair, because we've got work either side of it, but this has got a track record of throwing up some very special fish. It's quite good for colossal, which are a kind of French version of F1s. It's very good for tench, does fish to double figures. It's got some decent bream in it, although I'm not sure they're massive, but the sort of jewel in the crown, I guess, for this place is the fact that every now and again, and I don't think they're super prolific because they can be very nomadic, but every now and again it can throw up some absolutely monstrous rudd. And when I say monstrous, I mean 2.7 kilos, which is north of £6. So that's why we've come over here really, but the fact that it offers a very good backup amount of fishing with the other species means that it's a perfect venue to come over in the spring, and that's what we've done. We've come over because I wanted 48 hours in France. I love a little adventure across the channel, and that's it. We arrived last night, set up camp, found a couple of spots just out there behind the weed. We'll talk through sort of tactics and all that stuff later on, but quite frankly I've put about 2 pints of bait out so far. I've chucked 2 flat methods over the top, and we're just enjoying this beautiful mild morning. Last night we had a bit of a storm, and right now just feels super fishy. I don't know, I'm getting liners. I've just lost the fish and I've chucked this out and it's gone off in my hand, so I'm definitely on us. These rods are mega for this sort of stuff. In you come. Oh. Little bubby colossal. Don't mind that while I wait for a £5 rudd. I've got to say, I know it ain't a rudd, but imagine a rudd this big, because I reckon this is probably about £5, maybe £4, I'm not sure. It's a cool little fish, don't catch many in the UK. They get a lot bigger than this out here as well, but whilst we're waiting for a few big tench to come along, and possibly one of those golden bars, I'll take that. Yeah, nice. Spot's working, rigs are working. Well, it took a while for them to turn up, but they're definitely here. They're here now. Started getting a load of liners about 20 minutes ago. Lifted into a fish and pulled out of it almost instantly. Oh, in the weed. And then had that colossal. And then had almost exactly the same situation, whereas sort of chucked that right hand rod, bobbin pulled up tight and I lifted into nothing, so, oh, I think a big pike has just swirled at whatever this is. Bloody hell, that was massive. Please don't eat whatever I've caught or have hooked. That must have been a fair old pike to have a look at that. Where are you? Where are you? Up you come. Up you come, up you go. I think my match angler, there we go. I bought a smaller, I've got a bigger landing net as well, just in case, but I bought a small one because I didn't want to mess about with any of them big rudd if they ever do turn up. But from the knowledge that I've been given, it's just about getting bites. Very, very difficult to target them. The vast majority of them get caught on a flat method, and it's just a case of wading through the tench, the bream and the crassio. And the rain, as you can see, perfect rudd conditions. Nice. Fish number 2. Get the rod, get the rod! Thank you, Ty. Stop me rod from going in. Oh. Yeah, there's a big weed bed between us and the spot. Really, the spot's not a spot, it's just getting to the... He's kicking through. It's just getting to find where the weed ends and just fishing just beyond it. Come on. Oh, he's gone solid. I might have to come up here for a bit more leverage. There he comes, there he comes, there he comes. A little bit of leverage. Lacey never thought he needed more height, ever. There he is. If you ever get fish stuck in the weed, don't panic. Try a couple of different angles. If that doesn't work, and I've had it many times when I've been carp fishing, just stand there, keep the pressure on, and eventually one of you will get bored. And normally, if you have the patience, it's the fish. Right, that's going all the way over to the left, which is no good because my second net is on my right. Oh, did I just... I think it's a tench actually. I just saw like a golden belly. Is it a tench? Yeah, it's a tench. Oh, I saw a golden belly and thought it was a rudd. Literally, my backside just dropped out. It's a banging tench in here though. There was a local angler fishing yesterday and we saw him empty his keep net. And he had fish too. I don't know, maybe 8 pound, something like that. This ain't 8 pound. It's a banging tench. Look at that. Nice condition tench. Oh, just banged it on the head. Done my best to lose it. Ty, thank you very much. We'll have to have a selfie with that one because it was a bit of a duo battle, but that's a lovely tench that is, mate. And we were sitting here, ladies and gents, and we were coming all the way over to France to catch hopefully a monster rudd, but if we don't see any of the rudd, then the tench and the carassio and the bream will keep us company. And I know a lot of people will go, oh, you can catch all that sort of stuff in the UK, and you can, but the adventure you can't have. Look, like it's empty. This place is so quiet, so quiet. There's one guy about 400 yards that way, there's one guy 300 yards that way, and there's like we're the only ones on this bank. This is the greatness of the European sort of continental style fishing, particularly on the public venues. Often you've just got so much room. Ty, that's a nice tench, man. Ooh, Ty, that's a nice tench, look at that. That's bigger than any of the ones he had yesterday. Yeah, it's got a go on it, mate. Little looks designed for rudd. How much pressure can you put on a fish? That's a wicked fish, man. And it's not massive. It's 8 pound. There we go. Fish number 2. Another carassio. Probably slightly bigger than the last one. I actually quite like the look of them, and they're wicked fun on them feeder rods. But we was rudely interrupted whilst trying to deal with this fish by a beautiful tench. So we'll get this one slipped back and we'll have a look at that, because it's not massive, it's a decent fish, but it's a belter. It really is a good looking tench. Thank you, mate. Thank you very much. Right. Well, ladies and gents, look at that for possibly the most perfect specimen of a tench I've ever seen. Absolutely mint. What a fish. I don't mind not catching monster rudd if we're catching tench like this, although I still want to catch a monster rudd. But this is one of the other reasons why we came. A good mixed bag. For an all-rounder like me, it's a dream venue. Mega. Yeah, fish. I'm just tying up the rig. I think it might be a ream. Oh, there's a big bit of weed there, isn't there? Really gnarly bit of weed. It's just come off. Oh, that's a shame. I think I'm going to tie some rigs with some slightly bigger hooks. I'll scale right down here because I was very optimistic about possibly catching the rudd of everybody's dreams. That's on, isn't it? Is it? That's on, yeah. Well folks, it's fast and furious at the moment. I've just got this rod back out. I'm trying to do the second rod and it's gone off. It's going straight for that weed bed though. Little bugger, up you come. No, I thought they were fighting machines, these little things. This one isn't. There you go. Have a little slap about underneath your feet. Straight in the bread bag. Reality check though, wasn't it, when we come and met Olivier and he went, yeah, they're not getting caught at the moment. You're like, oh, of course they're not, because it just ain't that easy. It just ain't that easy.
Well, been in the water, what, minute?
90 seconds. It's mad, isn't it? Because we had a spell about 90 minutes where we didn't have a bite and I was like, oh, it don't feel right, doesn't feel right. And the gremlins just kick in. New venue, never seen it before, you know, you don't really know. Did I wreck it by putting 2 pints of bait out? But it's such a big venue. I can't believe that putting a couple of pints of emp corn, maggot and pellet out would harm it at all. Plus, I just think if a shoulder fish like this get on you, it gives you a better chance of actually holding them in the swim for a bit. Now it feels very easy, but I'm sure there'll be a spell today when it goes a bit quiet and I'll be umming and ahhing. What did I say? Cue the 500 Carasio. This is 501. Yeah. Come on, I'll tell you what though, mate. There's not a high chance. Oh, come in here. It's the lefty. There's not a high chance, but there is a chance. There is a chance on this venue that you could be playing a fish in like that, of that size, and it pops up and it's a big bar of gold with red fins. Like, imagine that. I can't imagine it. But I'm hoping to. That's why we're here. Nice fat slabba-dabba-ding-dong. Very slimy over here. People that don't like bream will hate this place because this is the slimiest bream I've ever caught, but they ain't bad nick, are they? I love that little black spot on his back. I thought it was a leaf. Another fatty. Similar to the last one. In you go, straight in. I mean, it looks massive because it's in my rud net, but Not quite as big as the last one, but it's an absolute melter again. There we go. Another wonderful tench. I don't mind if a few more of these come about. Look at that. There's got to be a double in here, isn't there? If this is the average size. Splendid. Well, I joked, cue the 500 Colossal montage. You're getting up that way. It's a little fat one. Look at it. Or her. Oh, that's a lovely fish. That's a lovely fish. In you go. Ooh. I'd rather you was in the other net, mate, but it is what it is. That tench is just about to get out of that net. So I'm gonna have a quick look and I'm gonna put it back. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful condition. Stunning markings. Wonderful little red eye. I'll never get tired of catching them. They're stunning, look at them. Look at them. An absolute tank of a tench. Super average size. This one, when it picked up the bait, it went for the far side for the first couple of seconds. I thought it was a carp. There we go, fish number one of probably my fourth, maybe my fifth double take of the day. Well, ladies and gents, this is the situation. Ty, the cameraman's gone down to the corn shop to try and buy some eggs and sausages so we can cook some nice fresh food up tonight. Anyway, I said because of all the tench and the bream and the colossal, I feel like we just have to try and tick as many bites off as possible. So I'm just going to keep fishing, and you know what's happened. I've had a double take, this one being the first one, which is a beautiful example of a tench, probably the smallest one of the day, but the mottling and the markings of this one, when you really look up close, are incredible. But I've also had the other rod go off with what to me looks like a rudd. And I'm not super jumpy around because I'm not sure if it's got a little bit of hybrid in it or not, but if it hasn't, then it's definitely a PB. Anyway, I'm going to put this back and I'll show you, and we'll talk through why I'm a bit like umming and ahhing about it. But fish number one of, I think it's the sixth double take of the day. It's been a very prolific day. I've had a blast, but I am working quite hard for it. Well, this is the second take of that 5-minute spell, and you make your mind up whether you think this is a legitimate rudd or not. I have my suspicions, but when I look at the fins, aside from the colour, everything looks right. When I look at the head, the underslung mouth, the scales, the body shape, everything looks right aside from the red fins. Now, I have known them on certain venues not to have bright red, blood red fins, but this bad boy, or bad girl, not sure, is £3.10, and if it is a rudd, it's a PB. So I would like it to be a genuine rudd if it is. So if you think it is or it isn't, just, you know, if you've got more experience than I have with big rudd fishing, please put it in the comments and let us know, because I'm keen to know whether this is a legitimate £3.10 PB for me. Either way, it's got me shivering like a dog taking a poo because I'm super excited. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. This is what we came for, and all right, it's not got every single scale. It's not a scale fin perfect specimen, but I don't see it, but I'm almost speechless. Look at that. Imagine a shoal of them. Looks like a chub. Oh, that's massive. Mad, isn't it? The colossal and the tench and the bream are all bottom feeders, and they've just shot straight to the bottom. That's just sat mid-water. stinker, you little stinker. I'm trying to work out a pattern. I definitely think getting a bit of maggot out there is going to help with the chances of catching more rudd. But I think the only way of getting maggot out there, because we couldn't fish helicopter rigs with the amount of weed that's out in front of us, I think that's just asking for trouble, if I'm honest. A fish and then a feeder hanging off of it. So I think, you all right, mate? So I think we've just got to persevere on the flat methods. Tried and tested on here. I think I'm overthinking it. Anyway, say it with me, another lovely condition tench. Well, the end of day one is fast approaching. I'm going to re-chuck this, and then probably, because it has slowed down, if I'm honest, in the last hour, I will fish just into dark, but I'm not really going to fish through the night. We are, as you can probably see over my shoulder, expecting quite a large thunderstorm, and I'd love to catch another big rudd, but I don't want to catch one that badly. On the subject of the rudd, I have sent pictures of the rudd to several people that are more experienced on venues like this than me and more experienced with catching big rudd, and they all say old but 100% rudd. So that is officially a £3.10 new personal best. So that is officially our French rudd experience / adventure. It's a success. And I think it was a success before that anyway, because we was catching so many beautiful tench. The bream was solid, the Carassio, which I've never really had to go for before, were super prolific as well. So we've had a really good day, and Olivier said basically there's a very little chance that you're going to be able to target the rudd. The best thing you can do is just get bites, and one thing we have done all day is had a lot of bites. The downside, and I don't know whether you can see it in my body language or my face, but is that once I started spotting a little bit of maggot, I started getting more attention from the rudd. Now I know that sounds weird because I've only caught one, but I also lost 3 fish on the bounce. And those fish didn't go off like the tench. They didn't fight in the weed like the Carassio. The bream have all come to the surface. Those fish that I hooked, that I lost, they all felt a little bit of a mixture of the bream and the Carassio, and it felt very, very similar to the rudd that I did land. So it's a bitter pill to swallow, losing 3 fish on the bounce, as you'll know. It's hard to go to sleep right now thinking, yes, I've just caught a 310 PB, but all I can think about is how can I possibly not lose any fish tomorrow, because there's no guarantee what I lost with rudd. But if I did lose 3 rudd on the bounce, then there's a chance that I lost an absolute donkey, and that's quite difficult to take. So bit of a roller coaster today, but all in all, massive success. So I'm going to have this chuck, maybe another half hour, put a little bit of food on, wait for the thunderstorm to come, wind in, have a good night's sleep. I'll be up at the first light tomorrow morning, probably 4:30, 5 o'clock, and working through the same process, because it has worked really well today. And just hoping that a few more rudd turn up above and beyond the bream and possibly the Carassio. Even though I haven't caught Carassio before, I've caught enough for a lifetime today, I feel like. But yeah, so that's about it really. We'll have a little chat and talk through all the rigs and everything that I've been doing today, tomorrow, before I chuck them out. But here we go, in for the last chuck. Well, that's going to in Belgium, that one. Okay, here's the tip. Yes. That is a solid bream, that. Right, off the mark, day one. Oh, my back. I know not everybody loves them, and I've caught enough this trip that I'm not a massive fan right now, but it's a good looking bream, that. It's a good looking bream. Oh, sake. Oh, mate, honestly, I thought that was a rudd. It was banging its head. Just banged its head a lot more like a roach would, so I just assumed when it was out there it could be a decent rudd, and clearly isn't. It's another brassing, but I had my heart going. I so thought this could be a rudd. Banging its head all the way in, a bit more erratic. Didn't quite come across the surface like the others, but clearly not. One more fish to the tally. Right, I'm super keen to get this rig back out for obvious reasons. Every minute that this flat method is not in that lake, there's a chance that I'm missing a 4-pound rudd. But I did say I was going to talk you through it, and I think it's important to just give you a little bit of information if you are going to come on little adventures like this, because I've been over to the continent many, many times before, mainly for carp, and there's a few things that I learned over the years, and the biggest one was don't ever come over here and be undergunned, because on these big open expansive lakes, when you're faced with big weed beds, big fish and big winds often, if you've got light rods, light lines, light feeders, and you can't reach a spot or you can't land your fish, then it's a really horrible trip. And so with that in mind, I come over here not knowing the venue, never seen it before, with very little information. And I thought I really want to have options when I get here, but I don't want to bring lots of different sets of rods. So I opted for the trilogy set of rods, simply because I've got a really nice pokey butt section now. And whatever tip I choose, either the 1.5 tip section, the 1.75 Avon, or the 2.25 Avon, I've got everything that's going to do the job, depending on whether I wanted to fish 30 metres or where we are now, sort of 50 metres range. And it is quite important that you are beefed up, even when you're fishing for rudd, because there are big weed beds here, and in this lake there are fish to over 30 kilos, carp, not rudd. So if you do hook big tench, big bream, big carasio, whilst you're trying to play that numbers game and fish for the rudd, then you've got to have gear that's going to land the fish. You can't be, like I said, bragging about lost fish. So for that reason, I've loaded up the Zelos distance reels, which are actually the cameraman's, because my ones haven't arrived yet, but this is the first time we used them, and I'm super impressed. They've got awesome line lay, a beautiful clutch, and they cast long distance very easily. I've loaded that up with 10-pound feeder line, which sounds an awful lot, like I said, for rudd fishing, but remember, we are just trying to tick bites off here, and the method to catch the rudd, it's not like you can wander up and down the bank and cast a little loaf of bread, a little lump of bread with a float at shoving fish. This is a big lake, and they tend to live at the back of the weed, and the back of the weed you can't see fish if they're up in the water or not, because we haven't got any trees to climb or anything like that. So we have just got to fish feeder tactics. Now I brought everything so I could fish helicopter feeders and all that stuff, but generally the flat method seems to be the one here. And with the weed beds, I've always found that if you are forced to fish feeders in and amongst weed, inline feeders tend to get stuck less. So I've stuck with the flat method. I've gone for the medium size in the 45 gram. When you're chucking 45, 50 metres, really you want a heavy enough feeder for one, to hook the fish, because you're not striking, you want them to hook themselves. But most importantly, when the wind springs up and you've got a bit of bow in the line, or you have to mend the line and sink it, you don't want to be pulling that feeder off the spot. So I've got the 45 and 60s with me. I haven't needed the 60s yet, but I'd happily just literally slide that off. There we go. Slide that off and stick the 60 on nice and easy if I needed to. But really, the flat method, everyone speaks about it, and it's a tried and tested method for catching most species. I've got the I've got the quick change bolt bead in there, super slick, very cool little device, works with these method feeders absolutely perfectly. I've got a short 10-pound micro braid hook link of about 3.5 inches in there to a size 12 or 14. I'm chopping and changing, specialist hook, and then just a trimmed down wafter of about 8mm. I've tried maggots work, I've tried the pink work, I've tried the yellow works. Once I've spotted out there, generally the fish come in and they eat absolutely everything. And on top of that, all I'm doing is I'm fishing a 50-50 mix of 3mm pellet and ground bait, and the ground bait is a 50-50 mix of a barbel ground bait and a pellet ground bait. I don't really know what they like. All I know is I was told that they like a bit of fish meal, so I've just gone for whatever I had in the garage that I can mix up that stinks. And that's it. Nice and simple. We've caught hundreds of carassio, lots and lots of bream, a few very nice tench, and one personal best rudd so far. Really cool. Everything likes gold. And it's a noddy bream again. He's in, but it's probably out by the time he got to the bottom. The maggots were wiggling around. There we go. Day number 2, carassio number 1. Probably on yesterday's results, not the last one either, but it's just nice getting bites. Ooh, stay still, stay still, stay still, stay still. Just pick that rod up for me. I'll have to redo it. Just pick that rod, yeah, pick it up quick. It's a weed, isn't it? Oh no, hold on. If I go over, you go under quick. You go over the top, I think. Yeah, I'm only putting one rod out on that because that would be silly. Silly carnage. What's happening here today? It's a weed, isn't it? Grabbing hold of it, I think. Fish. Right, that's actually not that tiny. Yeah. Well, yesterday I said cue the montage of 500 carassios. We didn't quite have 500, but we had quite a few, and it seems like today might be the same. We've had about 5 or 6 chucks, and we've had 5 or 6 fish, all bream and carassio. I don't mind them, to be fair. They're actually cool looking fish. But I did promise you yesterday evening that we'd have a quick chat through the gear and the rigs, so we're going to do that right now, and then I'm going to have my porridge because I'm starving. Beautiful. Right, well, as like yesterday, we're out of bait and we're probably going to have to go through this process a few times. And I'll talk you through my very simple, very basic mix. Now, there are lots of ways of doing this. There's lots of people with different preferences. This is just what I'm using. First and foremost, I get some 3mm pellet and I shove them in to a bait tub full of water just so I can soak them down a little bit. Stick that up there, lovely jubbly. And as a general rule of thumb, for the millimetre of pellet, that's how many minutes you want to soak them down so they're perfect. So by the time I'm finished talking to you, they'll be ready to empty the water and stick into the mix. And then basically I'm mixing the ground bait up 50-50. So I've got some of this method mix, which I'm going to do about a pint of that. So half of that tub, job done, in there. And about the same of this really stinky, livery, potent mix that has got to pull the fish down. It's got crushed pellet in there and everything. So that's 50-50. This is only a small mix, if I'm honest. At the start of the day, I've been mixing up like 2 pints at a time. Give that a nice whisk round. And it's like we're sat fishing on like a sandy bottom out there. So I want something that's sort of almost going to blend in a bit. Stinks to high heaven, but blends in. And if you look at that sort of colour there, it's a dark sort of sand, apart from that grass. And that's what I want. I want it to be fish mealy because that's what we've been told works really well here. And all I'm doing is I'm actually mixing this up a couple of times. So the first time I dampen it down, little bit of water. And I'm not really worried about giving it a sieve. I'm not worried about little lumps and stuff like that in there, because quite frankly, there's so many fish out there, they're absolutely smashing it. Plus I'm really moulding it quite hard into the feeder, because if we do have to sit through 20-30 minutes of downtime, I want to know that that feeder's still got ground bait and pellets all around it. I don't want it to literally disperse right from the start. I want the fish to come in and have to actually peck away at the feeder to get the hook bait out. I want them to work hard, because I'm working hard, so it's only fair. So the first time I mix that down, what I want to do is make sure that it's mixed to the point where I can actually sort of like just about pinch it, and then I'm going to leave that for maybe, shut the lid, I'll leave it for maybe 4, 5 minutes tops, something like that, just to absorb all of that moisture right the way around. And then what you'll find is the second time you go in, you won't need anywhere near as much water, but it will become much stickier and it will stay much firmer without it being super wet. Okay, so let's just say Blue Peter style with 5 minutes on, a little bit less water, give it a good mix around again. And like I said, I want a sticky mix, but I don't want it to be wet, because I'm chucking it 50 metres here, so it has to mould around the feeder really nicely. And quite frankly, I don't really want there to be much food source, even though I'm spomming a bit of maggot, a little bit of hemp, a little bit of corn and stuff like that. I don't want there really to be much food source around my feeder. I want it to be mainly scent. So that's absolutely perfect. And then all I'm doing with these 3mm pellet is I'm just draining them off. Once they've had about 3 minutes in there, lovely, and I'm sticking them in. So I've got like a pint of pellet, a pint of the fish meal and a pint of the river mix, and that all together seems to make a really nice sticky bindy mix that isn't too wet but stays on quite well. And we've had, for a lot of those fish that have gone off within 2 or 3 minutes, and it is a lot of them, we're winding in them fish with still a reasonable amount of grub stuck around those sort of prongs of the feeder, which tells me that after 15-20 minutes, if I ain't had a bite, I've still got food there drawing the fish in, so it's working effectively for me. That's it, super simple. As you can see, it catches Colossal. Came up to the surface and did not look, it's a bit different. It's my 18,000 millionth, 264 trillionth Colossal. That's nothing. Well, I did, I felt a little bit. Just nothing, there's no clear patches there. Whey! Whoa! Nearly went in some. I think it's pulled that tight and that can't come in. You need to lend a hand here. What is it? Thrashing around on the surface, whatever it is. Well, I don't know, mate. We've got to basically try and work out to keep the line straight. Yeah. You'd have to come here, and if you ever come back here, you just bring a chair and 1 rod. Like, not the right venue for 2 rods, it's too busy. It's hot, I just don't see how we're going to get through it. We need a shoal of like a gazillion rod to move in to push these out. So as far as my Colossal adventure goes, that's probably the second biggest one I've had. Well, it's big crosswind. I've had a couple go a bit right. God, that is so.
it's only been 2 minutes and you reeled that in, recast.
Yeah, yeah.
And got one back on.
Yeah, I've literally, so I got to the point where I'm re-rigging that rod in 1 inch increments. So I got to loop my hook link onto the quick change bolt bead on that last sort of interlude.
One turn of the knot every fish.
Yeah. I'm just going to do like a 2-turn knotless knot now because I ain't got time for 7. Oh, this has just done me. What is that? That's just gone solid. Oh, it's Gracia. Oh! I'm so desperate for a rud. I'm so desperate for a goddamn rud. There you go. Or a tench. Where'd the tench gone? I thought the tench were relatively prolific yesterday. Just in case you ain't seen one for like 45 seconds. That's including rebaiting, casting and winding it in. Very cool fish. There's just a lot of them. A lot of them. I think this is another Carasio, if I'm honest, but they all sort of come in sort of straight and then just kite towards the end. But if anyone wants to know how to catch Carasio from big venues on the flat method, I'm your daddy. Holy moly. Oh, that's excellent. How good would it be if you turn up, feed me with some sort of sugary pasty that almost certainly give me diabetes, and then, no, it's not, it's a bream. Yeah. Oh, that would have been perfect. That would have been too perfect. Yeah, that's definitely the smallest bream. Oh, he's a fat one. Oh, within the last couple of hours. And one of the locals they're on has literally just come. Well, we are fast approaching Last Chance Saloon. It's been an amazing trip. We haven't been fortunate with perfect rug conditions. We've had the odd spell of beautiful sunshine with very little wind, which is perfect for rudd. We've had to endure through the night quite a lot of thunderstorms and some Armageddon storms as well, which in turn has risen the lake. There's a river up there that runs in and runs out that end, has in turn risen the entire lake by about a foot and coloured it up, and generally you want clear water for the rudd. All that said, we came here for a mixed bag of fish, for classic sort of springtime feeder fishing. We wanted to have a go for the tench and catch a few of the nice tench that we knew were in here. We did that with 7 beautiful tench yesterday, up to about £8. We wanted to catch some of the bream and the Carasio, and I feel like we've pretty much done that in spades. I had a chat with Ty, the cameraman, about 2 minutes ago, and he reckons we're probably north of 70 fish over the 2 days. You guys wouldn't have seen all of those, of course, because we're trying to wade through them to try and get some of these monster rudd that we know live in here. But it's been an absolute grueler at times to just basically flick it out and it's going off in your hands non-stop. And as you'll notice today, I started off fishing 2 rods yesterday, and I haven't been able to keep 2 rods in the water today. So we've basically come down to 1 rod. The downside of the trip are the lost fish. I lost 3 fish yesterday that I felt were rudd. They felt very similar to the rudd that I landed. Very sort of quite heavy, but head shaky and noddy, sort of like kind of roach type fights. And then basically the story goes this afternoon is I haven't caught a rudd all afternoon or all day today. And a local guy called Laurent came down, and he was showing some interest in the rods and the reels. And I said, I actually had a bite. Carasio. I was almost certain it was a Carasio, so I said, yeah, I'll wind it in, like, and he wound it in, we netted it, unhooked it, put it back, lovely, and he said, oh yeah, very nice, like, quite impressed. I said, yeah, have the cast, and clearly, because he's had the cast, he has to have the fish. Anyway, 2-3 minutes later, as he's actually cast it, I noticed that he left the hook link out the feeder, and I thought, that's all right, it's probably just the French way, horses for courses, that's what they do. Anyway, 2 minutes later, rod goes off, bit of a twitchy bite, and he lands a bloody rudd, doesn't he? Just is what it is. Not a big one, about 10 ounces, so I'm pleased for him. And it certainly wasn't the size of rudd that I came over here to catch. I've caught plenty of them in the UK myself. But I grabbed the rod straight back off of him, loaded the feeder, I left the hook link out this time as well, and then lobbed it back onto the spot that I'd been catching all of the Carasio all day, and lo and behold, I had a twitchy bite, lifted into it, and it felt very roachy / ruddy, and it also felt very heavy. And as the 3 rudd that I thought I lost yesterday, I didn't see them, so I can't honestly say they were 100% rudd. I don't know, it's just a gut feeling with what I was feeling. It touched the weed and it literally just came off. Didn't even feel it pop off, it's like the hook just lets go. It's so frustrating. And so, as much as I should go home thinking that we've ticked off the bream, ticked off the Carasio, ticked off the Tench, and we ticked off catching one of these nomadic, beautiful monster rudd of £3.10, which is a mega PB, I can't help but think that we actually had an opportunity and we put a bait in front of a number of other big rudd, and I just wasn't good enough, or something was wrong, or I did something wrong to not capitalise and put them in the back of the net. So I think if nothing goes off in the next couple of hours, this is a goodbye for this session. It's been an amazing adventure, but I think it's fair to say that in my belly and in my mind, there is definitely unfinished business. And the stuff that I've learnt after seeing the venue and spending a couple of days fishing it, I definitely will come back with the same tactics. The flat method definitely catches fish, and I see many of these locals catching big rudd on the flat method, but I would come armed with a few other bits and bobs to try to stay away from the other species to maximise my time, on the rudd. So if this is it, au revoir. If not, I'll see you sitting by that mat with a dirty great big rudd. Let's hope it's that one. How was that? I think that's a fair summary. We came, we saw, we conquered, and we got our butts kicked at the same time. That's basically it, isn't it? We got. Well, I got my ass kicked. I'm a f***ing broken man. I can't remember. I literally can't remember landing that amount of fish in that amount of time. Imagine if we night fished it as well.